The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.
Look.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday week. It's our playoff special, having secured the playoffs via a 4-1 win against the Pompey of Hampshire, the wrong side of Hampshire, if you believe some people, you know what I mean. I am still hungover from the entire weekend, and I owe many an apology to many of my podcasting colleagues for getting so drunk I didn't make it to the pub later on. But I'm sure we'll get all that later on. Tonight with me, I've got Steve and I've got John. Steve, how was your weekend, mate? All right?
Yeah, it was good. Really good. Thank you.
Did you make it to Kelham Island after the game?
I made it. I made it to Kelham. Made it to the heist. Met some Twitterati, I suppose you'd call them. Great to catch up with Vic, and ended up bumping into James. Saw Pete, and one or two other people. So all in all, decent afternoon.
I got so drunk at the Rawson Spring before the game. Stopped off at KFC. I think I actually saw James there, actually. Stopped off at KFC, and I was battered.
You're that drunk that was after the game, Dan.
Yeah. I had about 2 or 3 at half-time, kept myself topped up, and I remember just stood there going, I'm too pissed. I can't do it. And fast forward an hour, I was laid cuddled into Ash on his son's bed, just absolutely passed out.
We were in an Uber. On Penistone it took us ages to get out of the Riverside. Couldn't get a taxi for anything. And I could just see Vic was just texting James. Oh. James was coming back and going, I've just passed him. He's in KFC. He's in a right angle.
Yeah, I was just battered. I just got carried away. It was all the experience of it. You know what I mean?
Worth it.
Yeah, of course it was. What about you, John? How was your Saturday? I saw you in the Rawson Spring for breakfast.
Yeah, well, yeah. We said breakfast. It never happened for us. I was supposed to meet my pal days, like, let's get in early. Let's breakfast it with the spoons. It didn't happen. We just liquid breakfast, like most of us down there. So you're getting the seltzers in. Thought, what's he doing here? I knew something was wrong when you were having seltzers. I thought, what?
I tell you what it was. I needed something refreshing, and them seltzers go down a bit sharpish. And and I'd had 6 of them and 2 pints, which is essentially 8 beers, and I was arsehole. I have been that drunk in such a long time. People talking to me, I'm like, yeah, sick, yeah. I ran into Shelley, the lady that unfortunately lost her husband last year, and I remember saying hello to her, but I can't remember a bloody thing. So my apologies, Shelley, if I breathed on you. Sorry for that. And I don't normally shout at bar staff like that, but they deleted our orders from the order. It were a right day. And if you're gonna have an app, Tim Martin, Alan Weatherspoons, if you're gonna have an app, make it work. You know what I mean? Get ready. It's a match day, for Christ's sake. Get everybody on for breakfast. You should have seen the queues. But anyway, we can move on all that. Let's talk about football. So, John, we didn't start very well, did we?
Not at all. No, I mean. It was just the perfect script for George Hurst, wasn't it? 5 minutes, 6 minutes in, bang. You could see he pulled off his marker there in the box, wide open. All of a sudden, we're 1-0 down. You're thinking, oh no, this is going to be a massive anticlimax here. We're going to get the George Hurst knocking us out of the playoff scenario. But weirdly enough, again, don't know if it was the ale like the rest of you guys, I wasn't overly nervous about being 1-0 down, even though it wasn't the greatest start in the world. I thought, it's early doors, there's still plenty of time. I thought with that crowd backing, we'd get back into it. And sure enough, we did pretty sharpish, didn't we? A lovely finish from Lee Gregory, by the way.
It was the other side of the pitch to where I was sitting, mate. That took a lot of focus in that.
It was. I thought, absolutely incredible to see Hillsborough full again, and I just fancied us to get back in it. There's a saying in football, you can score too early, and I think for them that proved to be the case. Especially we are back in and what we're at stake. So it was awesome to get back into it so soon.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Steve, that first 5 minutes, as John says, we were shit. we just didn't get going, did we?
No, we didn't. And do you know what? I'm not really sure why. I think everything else that you'd look at, you kind of go, there's 34,000 people here. This is it. We've got everything sort of in our hands. It's ours to lose, ours to throw away. I actually think, and I said this last week to one or two of the other guys, I was like John. I wasn't overly worried the morning of it. It was nothing to do with what I drank that morning. I had a vibe that MK Dons were going to beat Plymouth. I didn't have any sort of worry about us not finishing in the playoffs, and I think that personally took the pressure off in terms of my expectations and my nerves a little bit, because I just had a feeling that MK Dons were going to go hell for leather. I've not seen any of the highlights. I've seen the goals, but I've not seen anything around the sending off or anything that happened down there. But obviously, you know, the scores come through, and when they were sort of put to the sword fairly early, it ironically made our afternoon a little bit academic, didn't it, in terms of the playoffs itself. I thought the start was slow. It was sluggish. We were off the pace a little bit. Their goal, as well taken as it was, I'm gonna go out of character a little bit and get after Liam Palmer, because I thought he just totally switched off.
He did. He did. But then, I mean, to give it balance though, he did then go on to have a really good game though, didn't he?
Mate, my notes are here. Palmer at fault for the first goal. After that, he was excellent.
Yeah, he was.
And I stand by that. I come in here week in, week out, and I talk about how he'll be 7 out of 10. He's not going to pull any trees up. He's going to be all right. He very rarely, if ever, costs us a goal. Shot myself in the foot saying that last week, because he cost us a goal on Saturday. But beyond that, he was still at least a 7 out of 10 on Saturday. I don't worry about Palmer being involved, provided he's got the right. The only time I worry about it, I think, is when he's not got the right foil either side of him. And when that's happening, it's when we're at bare bones. If Darren Moore chooses to put him in, trust in Darren Moore, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to Liam Palmer. But after the first 5 minutes, getting the equaliser, I thought there was only going to be one winner, and we were effectively in cruise control for the remainder of the first half.
Yeah, it did take us a good few minutes to settle, and unfortunately, George Hurst did pull back. The way he pulled back to the penalty spot when the winger hit the byline, I thought that's clever. That's clever. Because the defenders just got absolutely suckered in. They've turned around and gone, shit. You can see it in the face as well. They flocked after the ball like 10-year-olds at a five-a-side tournament. You know what I mean? And it was very poor defending, I thought. But we showed some great character coming back. Now, John, tell us about the next goal, because I'll not lie, I'd already snuck off. Now, as soon as we equalised, I snuck off to get more beer. I'd got my head on, so I missed this goal. So tell it to me. I've already seen it on the replays.
Wednesday's second goal.
Yeah.
So we're talking when Wednesday went 2-1 up, then, aren't we? Looking at describing that goal, he didn't quite see it. Yeah, it was a little bit of I sit on the cop, so it was a little bit hard to see. It was a bit of a bobbling round the box kind of effort coming from the corner, kind of bobbled round the box. Berahino kind of picked it up. Had the sort of skill and that free movement that he's got in the box to just kind of swivel a little bit and get a shot away, and it just nestled lovely into the bottom corner, didn't it? And from then on, we were no looking back. It was there was only going to be one winner, it seemed. Although fair play to Peacock Farrell as well, he did have to make a couple of good saves in the game to keep us well on top there. Otherwise, I think there was one where he tipped onto the bar. If that goes in, it's 3-2. Maybe we start getting nervy again. But that was that Berahino goal set us on his way, and it was just a typical poacher's finish, which is what he is, isn't he? He's kind of lethal in that 6-yard box. Knew what was around him, and had the skill to just pop it into the bottom corner there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, joining us tonight is Blair. Now, Blair can ascertain and Blair can vouch for how drunk I actually was, because I've just remembered we went to the Wednesday tap after the game. Steve, honestly, I was an arsehole, mate. I was in a right tangle.
Were you the reason that I couldn't get into the tap after the match?
Yeah, I think Ash and I only watched about. Yeah, we only watched about 50 minutes of the actual football. Like, so Blair, what did I do when I saw you in the pub?
Smothered me.
Yeah, I gave him a hug.
It's a big hug. I didn't realise how big you were. I saw this massive Manly Wednesday shit that's grabbed me. I
had a drink. Now, Blair, we've talked about the first 3 goals. Let's move on to the third one. I mean, where were you sitting? What did you make of it? Like John says though, after Wednesday scored their second, there were only one team going to win there, weren't there?
100%. Yeah, it's one of them things, isn't it? packed Hillsborough. It's absolutely bouncing. I mean, I was fully confident going into the game that we were going to win regardless. Even when we went goal down within 4 minutes, I knew it was going to happen. Once that crowd. I mean, I didn't hear any negative booing or anything. Even when we went behind, I just knew we were going to win. The second goal really did help, and the third goal, well, that was it.
Tell us about that third one, pal.
The third one. I'm trying to think of which one the third one is now. I've got Byers in my head for some reason. Who was the third?
Jordan Storey.
Jordan Storey, yeah. Where I was sat, it was hard to really see it. I've watched it back 100 times, and I still don't really know. It just comes off his shin, doesn't it? Hunter smashes it across the box, and he just shins it in.
I think
even then.
It was a case of it being right place, right time, wasn't it? Really, I think we recycled from a corner, and they'd headed it out, and Hunt's picked it up sort of mid their half and played it down the line. And Byers has got a lucky, or he's the ball's bobbled and it's come away from him, driven into the box, and then he's just driven it sort of 4 or 5 yards parallel to the byline across. And Storey was just there. I think. When we've gone in there at the start of the game, you look at the lineup, and I personally, I don't know about anybody else, but I remember their keeper, is it Bazuna, had come out, and I'd gone, oh shit, I'd forgot they'd got him, because he's actually pretty good.
Very good.
He was really good at their place, and I thought, this might be a bit of a sort of an uphill battle sort of thing in terms of trying to get past him. The fact that we've scored 4 goals against what I will say, I'll call it now, say what you want about Peacock Farrell. He's the best goalkeeper I've seen this year.
He's a presence. He's a presence, isn't he? He's a presence.
Yeah. Still shipped 4 goals, though, lads. You know what I mean?
But the point, the thing is, I couldn't see, a bit like Blair. I don't really know what happened with him in terms of the third goal. It all seemed to be a little bit. I don't know if he got one of the players got in the way, or he's lost his footing, or what. Or Storey's just stuck a leg out and it's managed to go in off his shin. I don't know how much Storey knew about it, but to go in and the goal was made by the way that we recycled from the ball. Hunt had got the ball, played it down to Byers. Byers had got the lucky bounce, and we'd laid it in there, and then it. That made the goal, as daft as it sounds.
It was just a relentless 20 minutes, weren't it? When we just absolutely smashed them. It was brilliant. I found it really hard to focus on the game in just as a whole, because it was just so loud, weren't it? The atmosphere was just mental. Like I found it hard to even just focus on it. And I was completely sober because I'm like standby.
I'll tell you what it was, Blair. Like, I had a season ticket in the heady Premier League days and the earlier Championship stuff. And I everybody was talking about, Hillsborough's full, it's going to be great. And I remember thinking, it used to be full all the time. What are you on about? And then over the last 2 decades have gone, you're like, oh yeah, it's going to be full. Yeah, you know what I mean? And to have that atmosphere. And I remember looking around at the inflatables and everything getting chucked around in the Kop. John, did you see that? It was like an inflatable cat, Lilo. It was the shape of a big cat's face, just getting slopped around.
And bananas.
Landed on my head, that cat.
Was it? Last time we had the inflatables was when we the Wickham game to get promotion back to the Championship, and there was a pig, an inflatable pig that was flying around with the red and white striped top on, and I managed to catch that and wrangle its neck a bit before I threw it on to somebody else.
You have to, don't you?
Yeah.
So we're 3-1 up now. It's the second half, and it was a bit more of a mooted second half, but we were still on top. I don't think I was ever particularly worried about conceding another from those. And then the fourth goal, which I thought carried the same vein as the other 3 that we'd scored, was very much a proper footballing goal. You know what I mean? It was a League One goal. Whack, kick, deflect, nod. You know what I mean? It was all very much. They weren't long-range strikes. There's none that's going to make the goal of the season, but I thought Byers, for me, was one of the best ones of the 4. It was such a deft little header into the far beans on toast, and because it was at the Kop end, I think I lost my mind at this point. What about you, lads?
Yeah, my favourite part about that goal was how Windass sort of like looked like so arrogant to even take the corner, and then he put in like such a good ball, and then when Byers put it in. I was watching Windass, and he sort of was like, he didn't even move, he didn't have any emotion, just kind of stood there like, I'm good, mate. Do you know what I mean?
If it makes you feel better, Blair, he now has terrible hair.
Yeah. And I think like having him back for the playoffs is unbelievable. Like, you can't really scout him. You don't know what other teams don't know what he's going to do, where he's going to play. I ain't got a clue where he plays in Darren Moore's formation. Is he a striker? Is he a wing back? I don't know. Is he a midfielder? Yeah, exactly. Oh no, he's probably behind Bannon, the second best player in the league. So
could well be, man.
It's like an unbelievable asset to have for 2 important games, well, 3 important games, hopefully. And also, the biggest point I was saying to my mates during the game was how banging form Lee Gregory is. And it's like, what a time to have an informed striker. It's the end of the season and for the playoffs. So
I'll tell you what,
I'm well confident.
John, watching Lee Gregory live in a game where we've been so successful, it's an absolute masterclass in harrying and you know what I mean, and putting some pressure on defenders in it.
It's awesome, yeah. I mean, he's got very few weaknesses to his game at this level. Obviously, he's not lightning quick, but he doesn't need to be because he's got it up here. Everything's in his mind. He runs the channels. He pulls off the last man. He can hold the ball. I mean, the balls we put up to him sometimes, and he just chests it. He's got defenders trying to pull him down. He's like, no, not having that. Brings it down, chest, brings other players into play. Then he's off on his next run, trying to get to the far stick, near stick, you know, whichever it may be. And that finish was so underrated that to get us back to 1-1 because the ball was whipped in on the ground at some pace, and he just kind of curls it off his boot into the bottom corner with ease. And yeah, he's a player banging form, and that's going to be really key for us now going into these playoff games. Yeah, he's terrific. 16 goals I think he's got now. So and he's been injured a lot of the season. So
it's 10.
Yeah. So, I mean, had he not had the injuries, I think we would have been talking about a 20-goal a season striker, which I'm not sure we've had for a while. I mean, I know Steve McLean got one, but that's going way back. But I don't know since. Maybe Medine, I don't know.
Neil Mellor.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Jesus, that's going back some years. Now, so Sheffield Wednesday have run out 4-1 winners. It cemented our place into the playoffs. We finished 4th, securing ourselves a tie thanks to the Wickham, the MK Dons game finish as it did. It secured us a tie against Sunderland. Another huge club in League One that people would argue shouldn't be playing at that level. They've had a couple of bites at the cherry at promotion and keep dropping the ball. And Steve has just ruined my day. He's just sent me a text message while you were talking there, John, of the League One form table from the last 10. At the bottom, we've got MK Dons. In third, you've got Sheffield Wednesday. Guess who's at top?
Why, are you, man? It's got to be them Mackhams, isn't it?
It's the Mackhams having a lovely fucking time, like. They're out of the last 10.
That was hard. What accent was that?
I tell you what it is.
Had a little bit of Scouse in there.
Have you ever listened to Atletico Mince? All of their characters have shit Geordie accents. Every single one of them. And that one was. Have you ever went to do Peter Beardsley and he have his wife? And she go, get us some fucking eggs, you creepy little bastard, like. And that in my head now, people in the northeast all talk like that.
Well, I think about Teesside Tintin though.
Just having a lovely little fucking egg, like. So anyway, Sunderland top of the form table, 24 points. Wickham 22, Sheffield Wednesday 21, and MK Dons 20. It's still relatively tight. Don't get me wrong. However, Steve, I'd have preferred this to be a semi-final as it is, because I must admit, a Wembley final against that lot, I prefer it the way it is. What do you reckon? Or would you have loved to seen Wembley bouncing with red and white and blue and white?
As it is, 100%. I think in the cold light of day, my personal opinion is it's the worst connotation of playoff that we could get in terms of the fact that we've got to go to Sunderland, and they're the only team with a stadium bigger than ours. I think that, on a Friday night, they've got 35,000 people there. I think I've seen Ashes dropped onto the chat that they've sold 35,000 tickets already. We cannot possibly sell 35,000, so we've got to turn up on Friday night. The positive, if we do turn up and if we get a positive result, whether that be a win or a draw with a positive performance, they've got to come to our place, and Hillsborough's a bit of a fortress, and it'll be a bit of a hoodoo sort of venue for them Monday night, all being well. But if we get past that, I was at MK Dons. I've seen us play MK Dons twice. I worry about MK Dons, to be honest with you. I know people say we'd rather play MK Dons and play football than Wickham. Me personally, give me Wickham any day of the week. I think on a Wembley pitch, a big pitch with lots and lots of Wednesdayites behind it, I'd rather play Wickham than MK Dons.
I tell you what it is, Steve, and that I was speaking to my my esteemed father. After it's out, when I got up from Cuddling Ash, I then went out and met my dad, who'd just come back from Gillingham, because he's a Rotherham fan. Big old one and all. Like, talks about no else, and he always likes to get a dig in about the Wednesday. And he was saying about Wickham, and they did it to us, and they did it to Rotherham really well. They were really good at the dark arts, so they played them for 90 minutes, and that statistic you get of how long the ball's in play, how much football was actually played. They played 36 minutes of football. They did it to us and did it to Rotherham. They hit the deck, they bite, they kick, they push, they're all over, everybody's injured, they shit house at the best of them. But I just feel like, John, I don't know if you agree, like MK Dons and Wickham, there is an element that they could get overawed by the occasion of going to Wembley, whereas I don't think Sunderland could. What do you reckon?
Yeah, but then the flip side of the coin is you sat there looking at their half-empty support like we did against Hull, and the occasion didn't really bother them, and they still managed to pull out a result from some sort of wonder strike that, and we're clawing on and trying to get back in the game, and eventually time runs out. But no, I think we've been there before. We took 40,000 last time, didn't we, for Hull? We'd take 40 again, even doesn't matter that we're in League One. Yeah. We'll just give it us all. Just give them the bottom corner.
20,000. Yeah. It's bloody. If it's MK Dons, just give us all tickets. We'll sort it out, lads. We'll give him some. You know what I mean? We'll do it.
Yeah. I don't think. So obviously, Wickham wouldn't take. They're not a big club body in terms of support. MK Dons are the kind of everyone's team to dislike because of how they were formed. I think people still don't like that, and I think people still take issue with that. So, but as you were saying earlier, Dan, with Sunderland in the final, I mean that's going to be bigger than the Champions League final in terms of attendance. You're getting 90,000 for that if it was Wednesday and Sunderland in the final. But so I mean maybe playing them over two legs just for the occasion, as it were, may suit us better than that big one-off pressure cooker-filled. One-off 90-minute or maybe plus extra time final. So, I mean, Wickham are basically Atletico Madrid of League One, aren't they? They're just going to kick and bite.
That's a good way of putting
going to be up and down the touchline like Simeone, isn't he? Trying to get players sent off, and it's a bit anti-football at times, isn't it? So. And then they've managed to get results against, they did that to us, didn't they, in the most recent away game with them. So, maybe the Wembley pitch being bigger allows us to sort of counter that with our genuine football, play rather than the, tight ground like you would have got at Wickham and their tactics. So maybe the bigger pitch would suit us. So it's difficult. They're going to clash of styles, whoever we meet, isn't it? Because MK Dons will try and play us at his own game and try and beat us at his own game. Wickham will try and bully us if it's them. So it's you've got to essentially have two plans, haven't you? And I know sometimes the thing with Moore is, has he got two plans? But
I'll bring that up with you, Steve, in about 5 minutes. But Blair, before we do all that, before we start talking about Wembley, before we get carried away, we've got two what could potentially be tasty legs against Sunderland. Now, where are we head to head? We went there and got spanked 5-0. What was it at Hillsborough? Did we do them 4-1?
3-0.
3-0.
Is that what it were? Now, they've got the edge in terms of goals scored. Is there an element of us going up there and dropping the arse out of it?
Well, the only thing I'm worried about is they keep scoring late goals and we concede late goals. So,
it's a match made in heaven, mate.
Like Nathan Broadhead. I think every time I looked on a Sunderland goal, like 91 minutes, Nathan Broadhead. All right.
Am I right in thinking they've got Danny Bart as well?
Danny Bart's there as well. So, put some money on him. It's the biggest League One playoff fixture ever, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be. It's going to be an absolute monster.
The fact that these two are in there, down there, I mean, a bit arrogant, I know, but we're not there. We're not down there for.
It's basically like Tyson and Holyfield fighting in the car park at the Dog and Duck, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's embarrassing in a way, but how poor these massive clubs have been run in recent, on how we're down there. So yeah, it's huge. I think it'll be. I think it'll win. I think it'll win both legs. Fuck it.
So go on then, Steve. Go on, hit me with some stats. I've seen with your writing down face.
No, I'm just looking. Broadhead, he came off injured. He only lasted 25 minutes on Saturday, didn't he? And he's still injured. I just wondered if there was any updates. So I'm just having a quick scroll.
Well, we've had no updates ourselves on Barry Bannon's injury. He went down in front of the cot with what looked like a hamstring injury, but I must admit it did look like a bit of shithousing, if I'm honest.
I think he started rubbing his leg when he thought the referee hadn't stopped it yet. I better egg it on a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's all being very cagey with Bannon, isn't it? I have visions of him running up Greno Woods like Rocky IV, and he's got logs around his shoulders and stuff. He's preparing to try and get back in time for Friday. But yeah, I think somebody was saying, I don't know, one of the Sheffield Star journals, that if Moore's got any sort of thoughts about it, he should keep quiet, and whether Bannon is injured or not, just keep Sunderland guessing right up to match day and not kind of elaborate on it. I
don't think we'll hear anything about Bannon until 6:45 on Friday, to be honest with you. They'll keep the cards close to the chest. Anecdotally, I sit behind the dugout, and he came round. He sat at the front. When they bring him off, he always sits in what would be Darren Moore's seat. So if you've got the two rows of seats in the dugout, he sits on the very left-hand one as you look at the pitch on the front row. They didn't ice him. He didn't get any attention from the physio. He did say, my sister sits with me, he did say that he feels like he might have had a little bit of a niggle in the hammy as he's come off. He said he didn't think it was a tear, but I'm reliant on my sister's fucking lip reading skills. But what you're going to do is if he's not right, he's definitely not walking around with his daughter, is he? I think that's a telltale sign. I think they'll obviously assess it, but they've not said he's being scanned, he's being treated or anything like that. He was pretty active on socials on Sunday with the Celtic Rangers game. So you'd like to think it's business as normal, and a little bit of treatment, get the physios working after it. We'll manage it as best we can. Certainly Friday, hopefully Monday, adrenaline get him through, and then he's got a couple of weeks to get himself right if needs be.
Absolutely. Now, so how are you feeling, John? Like I want to dig into this. Like, you know what I mean? We've had the usual ticket nonsense. I can't go through it again. Then what have gone, get tickets. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? They've gone. They've put the shift in. They've earned those tickets. I'm all right with it. You know what I mean? And if somebody said to me, "Come up with a better system than that," I'd absolutely draw a blank. But in terms of this fixture on Friday, how are you feeling? Like, I mean, Blair says we're going to win both. But how do you feel?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the last time I went up there was a catastrophe, 5-0, wasn't it? And pretty much game, I think, was probably over by half time. But that was a good while back, and it's essentially more cup football now. The mentality is different. It's not about 3 points now. It's about trying to bring something back to Hillsborough. Whether it's a draw or even if we lose the game by a goal, just to bring them back to Hillsborough and recreate the same atmosphere or even better it than what we've just had, to try and carry us over the line. So yeah, I think it's a good test for Moore, because I'm not sure he ever made the playoffs with Doncaster. I can't recall, but
he left them when they were in 8th, didn't he?
Right, yeah. So it's a good test for him as a manager. One of the things, as much as we all loved Carlos, one of the things that really sticks with me is how negative he were in that Huddersfield away game.
It still bugs me to this day.
I mention it all the time.
Yeah, because there was just too much reliance on getting them back to Hillsborough and seeing them off, but they were just far too negative in that away, like at Huddersfield, and ultimately cost us.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know it's different team, different era, different manager, but
they did get promoted without scoring a goal.
Oh, it was just
they drew all 3 games.
Penalty shootouts all the way, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, even the goal at Hillsborough was an own goal, wasn't it? It was Tom Lees, wasn't it? But they just had so much luck that season. But yeah, I'm hoping that more. because away form has been patchy. It's kind of mid-table at best, but it is, like I said before, it's a different mentality. It's cup football, and I think we've just got to go with them there with a mindset, and not just trying to sit back. Just go with the mindset of trying to get a positive result. Thinking about the second leg, whether that could be a win, draw, or only lose by a goal. All three of those scenarios, bringing them back to Hillsborough, is pretty decent in my eyes. So I think we've just got to go there and stand up to the pressure. They'll be it holds about 40,000, doesn't it? The stadium alight, so it's going to be a big crowd, and that could feel intimidating. But they've got to get over that and get them back to Hillsborough, and we'll have 30-odd thousand there to try and get us to Wembley. So up there.
Now, Steve, a few months ago on this podcast, we started talking about Darren Moore after we'd lost and all the rest of it, and I think I went, fuck him. It's took him 6 months to get his team together. It took him too long.
Out, didn't we? We had a big
too long.
out.
Now, one thing I have always conceded about Darren Moore is that his recruitment has been outstanding. I think we've signed especially in January. I feel like our January signings were absolutely sublime. I thought they were brilliant. I thought they did really well. And, and in terms of what's been a flop and what's not, is 80%. Do you know what I mean? For me, which is, Christ, so much better than the recruitment we made since the checkbook opened when Chansiri and Carlos first came. Darren Moore's got it right the last few weeks, Annie. What do you reckon? I mean, come on. Has he got a plan B? Because last week we got treated to a plan B and it paid off. And then did you see much of one on Saturday, or do you feel like plan A was okay, or did you see a change in intensity, all the rest of it? You know what I mean? Come on. I'm going to give you a soapbox now to wax lyrical about the gaffer.
Okay. I came out of Fleetwood last week and said he changed it. And I can't remember what I said, but it created some conversation that was quite divisive, I think, on Twitter. I said he did have a plan B. He proved that he'd got a plan B. He changed it up. And against Fleetwood, I think into no small part to Darren Moore did we come away from Fleetwood having won the game. And I stand by that. I think he recognised that things weren't right. And off the back of that, made the changes that he made, and we went on and we won the game. And I think the changes that we made were integral to getting that second. And
what you're showing me there, Blair? A Villarreal beating Liverpool.
It's 2-0. Yeah,
it's 2-2 on aggregate. Yeah,
I've just seen Bournemouth score against Nottingham Forest and all, but we'll pull that apart a bit. Go on, Steve. Sorry, mate. I got waylaid on the football that's happening right now.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't, or vice versa, if you like. Because when you say that Darren Moore's got a plan B, people will then come out and it's very easy to say, well, why didn't he get it right in the first place? And I don't get that. I don't understand that mentality. And when people go, it's not good enough, and you've got your more detractors, and I understand that and I get it, whether I agree with it or not. But if your argument is, well, Darren Moore needs a plan B after we've talked about whether or not he's got a plan B, I don't get where your head's at. People will set up teams, people will set up games, 4 games, and expect something something to work well, the formation that they put out to work for them on that day. Jurgen Klopp has set up tonight with a view that Liverpool aren't going to be 2-0 down. I'm telling you now, guys, Jurgen Klopp will be changing it if he's 2-0 down at Villarreal in the Champions League semi-final. So give Darren Moore his due. When it's not going right, he's proven on a couple of occasions recently that he can change it. I think some of the feel about it has come out of his left field ideas, as in Marvin Johnson playing left centre back, as in his team selections at times have been divisive in the sense that we've talked about dropping players. Why have we rested this player when we've only got this much football to play? Why have we done that when this needed to happen, and so forth? He's got a plan. He's got an idea that he wants to sort of get through, and I get that. I do understand it, and I don't think that Darren Moore has done a great deal wrong. Certainly since ironically since the sort of the Sunderland, Shrewsbury, Oxford sort of phase of the season. I think we've kicked on from there. We've had a couple of unfortunate results in the last sort of 4 months. But if you look at it, 2, maybe 3 results that you can go back to: the draw, the loss at Lincoln, and
Oxford at home.
Oxford at home. Yeah, when you look at it, he's once things have settled and he's got what he wanted to do, I think he's done all right.
He's only done all right, Blair. You see, that's him holding it back, because I think if we get promoted, I'm going to get delivered quite the amount of fuck yous later on. You know what I mean? If we do go up, what are your thoughts and feelings on it?
What, on Darren Moore?
Yeah, go on.
Wow. Well, we mentioned the other week. I thought like he's a great coach. Obviously, that shines through. People want to play for him. It's his 4th year in his tenure as a first team manager. So I think like he's still learning on the job. I think he used that phrase. I think he's still learning how to be a first team manager. And, I mean, these high pressure situations, but you can't learn. Like you can't study what it's like to be 2-1 down.
There's no space, especially Sheffield Wednesday in League One. I don't want anybody learning on the job. And do you reckon that's why it's come under so much shite?
Yeah, I think we expect too much when we're in League One, because with Sheffield Wednesday we're massive and we're playing Wimbledon.
Yeah,
we should be. We just expect to win. And maybe that's us being too harsh as a critics, but at the same time, there's only 12 clubs in the country who have better history than us and have a bigger fan base than us. So are we wrong to expect more and just accept mediocrity? I don't think so. Personally, I think he's. Oh, my cat's just gone invaded the space. Here he is.
What's his name?
Charlie the cat.
Charlie the cat. That's a shit surname.
Yeah, he's a big Moore fan. He just came in and said, "Oh, lads, what's your name?"
Maureen.
I think. What I mean, in Moore's defence, we are playing some of the best football we've played since Carlos. I think sometimes the Plan B thing hasn't helped with Windass being injured, and then you've got obviously Canberra and Sowers as backup strikers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I've got to change it, but I can't really take off these two and bring these two on, because these two aren't going to change it, are they? Sort of thing. The only criticism is the formation, the 3-5-2 changing mid-season to a system. So all these signings he made in the summer don't fit the system he's now decided to go in with. I think that's a bit.
But that was an enforced change, though, and I think it was a necessary one. It's balls out to go, shit, I've signed all these players to play a 4-4-2, and then now.
Yeah, and then we can say in January, chairman's helped him and backed him. He signed Ian's Story, which has made so that's released Johnson to the left. And so you can say, I mean, there's two sides of the coin. I think it's jury's out until we get promoted, isn't it?
I'll call this now, though. I don't think, given the signings that we made, I don't think they'd be half as effective as they have been if we'd have played a 4-4-2. I don't think Johnson can play left side of a midfield. I don't think he offers as much as he offers as a left wing back, given the way that we put 3 in at centre half.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the midfield that we've got. The shining star for the first 2 months was Dennis Adeniran, that we've not spoken about because he's not played in however long. If we're playing a 4-4-2, he signed Adeniran, he signed Wing, he signed Byers, we've got Bannon. These 4 lads there, you want 2 players for every position. 4-4-2, we're going to find it very difficult to shoehorn in all of these players. I actually think, I disagree with Blair, I think the 3-5-2 might have been the making of our season, to be honest with you. The fact that we've got personnel now, the lads that have come in. Sorry.
I think we've backed up well. Once we settle on 3-5-2, I think that's where we went. I mean, John, do you agree with Blair? Are we a bit, now Windass is back, I feel like we were lacking depth a little bit in that forward position, weren't we, up front? He was right about Canberra, and so even though I'll still maintain that when we've called on he has performed, even though the ones where he hasn't, he's been absolutely bloody terrible. You know what I mean? But it's not, the demise of Florian Canberra has been well documented, hasn't it? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think Steve had some good points there, particularly 3-5-2 and allowing one thing that you don't want Bannon in a 2 in midfield is because it doesn't give him that license to get forward and support the attack. He invariably ends up picking the ball up from the back line, and that just drives me crazy. I don't like to see that.
Do you know what? I swear to God, John, we've discussed that 1,000 times. Like, it's when he's in a 2 and he doesn't trust his partner, which is usually was usually Joey Pelopessi. He would drop back to the defence. He'd split the defence in 2, and bear in mind, he's not going to be winning any back post headers. And then he'll try and get the ball. But if we lose it and they recycle it, everybody's out of position. So what we found, and I think the MK Dons game was probably the best example of it. What happens when Bannon can go forward? You know, when he's got 2 players that he trusts, because that's a huge key with him, isn't it? 2 players that he trusts behind him. Oh, he's an absolute magician, isn't he?
Well, look at that. He just scored, a contender for goal of the season, because he's not sat on our back line. He's sat in the hole, isn't he? And he's waiting for their defenders to just head it back, clearance. He spotted the keeper off his line and bang, pick that one out. And that's where you want Bannon. You don't want him picking the ball up from your back line. And I think the formation change, as Steve said, has enabled players like Bannon to get further forward with the support of Luongo and Byers around him. It's allowed Marvin Johnson to play a more natural role for him, given his skill set at 29, 30 years old. He's not a lightning quick winger down the wing for a 4-4-2 anymore. But what he can do, he can get him on the overlap, and he can put some cracking balls into the box for the likes of Lee Gregory. I think Windass back is absolutely key. And although, I'm not a massive Canberra fan, I think he can come on and he can change a game, but I don't think he's going to come on and get you a goal as such. He's more of a put himself about, try and hold it up.
That's very diplomatic of you, John. I really enjoy that.
I'm not a massive Canberra fan, if I'm honest, but...
he could shit out as if we're already 1-0.
Yeah, if you're winning the game, or he's just trying to put himself about and win a ball for somebody else to run onto, then yeah. But if you're bringing him on for him to try and get you the goal, then I'm not super confident that's going to happen. So I'm glad we've got Windass back in that regard.
Absolutely. Now, as we enter the last 5 minutes, I'm going to go to any other business. I want to say congratulations to Barry Bannon for making the player of the season, as voted for by the Sheffield Wednesday fans. I mean, who else is it going to be? Contenders, names in the list. People have spoken about, for me as a contender. This was all behind Barry Bannon. You know what I mean? So big, special mention to Johnson, having found that position that he did.
Story. Yeah.
Jordan Story's been an absolute revelation. Harley Dean not going to be a contender because he's not played a lot of the season, but when he's come on, his influence and his appearances have absolutely driven home. Apart from the one where he goes off after 6 minutes. Bottom end of the table there, we've got Jordan John Jules and Jaden Brown. And Lewis Wing. So
locked in the Herbie Manuelson suite.
yeah. That's where they go. The Herbie Manuelson trash can. And also our accounts have been released this week. We have operated at a loss. We have broken the breach of breaking over £39 million over the last 3 years in terms of loss. However, these were the COVID accounts. So let's not lose our minds just yet. Let's just see how that pans out. That's the headlines from that, because I'm not even going to attempt to talk about football finances. But before we go tonight, Stevie, let's have a prediction for this Friday. Deep breath, son. Deep breath.
I think we will draw.
Score draw? Or a 0-0?
1-0.
1-0. What about you, Blair? Looking to the cat's eyes, the Mystic Mog.
Yeah, he reckons 3-0 Wednesday.
Does he? Is that what he said?
He says Lee Gregory's our number 9, scores goals in the blue and white. So.
You've given him too many dreamies for breakfast, mate. What about you, John?
I'm going to give you 2 here. I'm going to say if Bannon's fit and plays, we don't lose the game. If Bannon doesn't play, I think we'll lose the game by a goal and then get him back to Hillsborough.
I can't choose it. I think it could be a score draw. I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be any more than 2 goals scored by either team. I think it could be 1-0 Sunderland, but I think it could be a draw as well. But anyway, let's just see how it goes. We'll hopefully join you next week before the final in a good spirit. You know what I mean?
Also, Dan as well. I don't know. I've been working on a bit of a George Byers song over the weekend. I don't know. It's a little bit of. Some of you guys are going to be a bit young
to remember this artist.
I've got Eminem. I've got 8 Mile.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a rap. No, I can't do that. On it, rap harder is from KFC. But
Was it when you do it, you look like really cool, and when I do it, I look like the Emperor
Darth
telling you to
Sidious.
worry about the dark side. Like what? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's to the tune of "I'm on Fire" by Bruce Springsteen, legendary artist.
Okay.
So it's
the boss.
Hey, everybody, let me tell you all about a guy in the middle. He can do it all. His name is George now. He's going to take us higher. Whoa, we've got buyers.
It's short, it's sweet. It made the iPad fall over. I'm very excited about it. If we get that going, John, I'll buy you a pint. I'll buy you an alcoholic water because 3 of them for breakfast, 6 of them for breakfast is a bin. I tell you what, Blair, honestly, I walked into Wednesday Tap, right? And I saw they were doing jugs for a reduced price, a 4-pint jug if you bought 4 pints.
There's 8 pints on your table when I walked.
I bought 2 jugs, and they went, yeah, it don't go well into a jug, so here's just 8 pints. Just me and Ash stood
8
there.
pints. Gosh.
But anyway, listen, thanks a lot for joining us tonight, chaps. Thank you for jumping into the breach for us this evening. If you're going to Sunderland, folks, get there safe. Hope you listen to this nonsense, and I hope we've made you get really angry about it, and I hope you're absolutely baying for blood, you lucky 2,000 people. See you later.
The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.